Everybody, it's day four. Day four, oh my God, or the end of week 2 of our class. And welcome, and this should be a shorter video, I think. Today, I'm just going to talk about these commands: push, pop, scale, rotate, translate. And I used to not teach them, but they're really, really useful for you in case you want to. They'll make your life much easier. So I'm going to click on this and get here. And this was my scene code from the other day. So you can notice here that I commented out a whole bunch of stuff here, as you can see, and that's just to kind of keep it there for me in case I forgot how to do stroke weight. I have it commented here, and oh yeah, that's how I do it. So I would click, I would copy this and put it somewhere else. So that's it's commented out here for my reference. That's why I've got it in there. And then this is the stuff I was working on. Here's my sun. This is going to be a triangle that was maybe a top of a house or something like that. And this is a tree trunk, right? So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is if you want to add some words here. Well, I've got right here, look, here's some words, right? This is my string concatenator here, the plus sign, and here's my mouse X and mouse Y. And I want you to comment that out when you're done with this. We don't need to see that. That's your debugging information. But I wanted to just remind you guys that there's a text size command too. And in case I want my text to be bigger, like if I'm writing, I had the words "a summer scene" down there before. If you want to write like a message for your, or some text, you want to use text in your picture here, you can use a text size command, and later on I'll show you that there's also, you can use any font you want to that you can download. So if I put text size 24 there, it's much bigger, you see? And this text size command will affect everything underneath it. And when I say underneath it, I don't mean it'll go to here. I mean it'll go through all the way. Now this is the end of the draw. This is the end of the draw loop. So the minute that the code hits here, the minute the processor hits here, it will go back up to the beginning of the draw. Text size is 24. It'll go back here, and it'll do background. It'll ignore all this stuff. It'll do all this stuff again, but everything after that will be affected by text size. So if I had some other text up here that I wanted to be smaller, I could put another text size command there. The text size is nice for you to know. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is, I decided I was going to put a tree, like a green circle right here to constitute a tree. So if I decided to do that, I kind of put my cursor right over here, and it's like 370,26 I see over there, right? Or actually, if I click on this, remember, this has got this mouse released code in here too, and it'll print the mouse X and mouse Y to my console. So 609, 181. So maybe I'll do that. I'll put 601, I'll make a circle at that place here. In fact, I already have a fill green here, so I'll do that. Ellipse 609, 181, and then I'll make it, I don't know, I'll just start with 200 by 200. And then if I do that, yay, so that's where the circle is. There. And you notice that the circle is behind the tree trunk, which actually is kind of neat. My impulse would have been to make it in front, but I'll put it here instead. So now it's in front. So you guys can see the computer goes through and it reads your instructions and does what you want it to do. So it'll make yellow here, and then it'll make a brown rectangle here. Then on top of that, it'll make a green circle, and then it'll make this triangle. So what I wanted to show you about these commands here, push, pop, scale, translate, and rotate, are really, 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 really cool commands. So translate especially is neat. What it does is it moves something from one place to another, and it takes an X and a Y location. Or it takes an X and a Y translate. So if I wanted to make another triangle, this triangle's here, I want to make another one just to the right of it, instead of having to calculate all of this out, I can just copy this. I won't need the fill again. I want to make another white triangle, so everything under here is going to be white. So I copy that, and I'm going to paste it. I'm going to use tidy code to format it better. So there's my second triangle, right? And if I want to move that triangle to the right, I can use this translate command. Translate. And translate command takes an X and a Y. So if I put X, like if I put X maybe, I don't know how big this, well, let's see, it's 316 to 465, so it's like 150 wide. So if I put like, if I want to translate this over by, I'll say 180 on the x-axis, this second triangle is going to be translated, going to be moved over 180. And I won't move it anywhere on the y-axis right now. I'll just put a 0 there. So watch what happens. So I've duplicated the triangle and I've translated it. So there's the second one. Oh, I don't want it over that far, and maybe I'll move it over, move it to the left a little bit. So I'll change that to a 150 instead. So nice, right? So if you wanted to make a whole bunch of things, let's say you had like a whole person or something like that, or like a house that you liked and you wanted to make multiples of them, you could use that translate command to translate all kinds of stuff underneath it. This tree, for example, okay, here's my tree. Maybe I will put a comment here, tree, and I'll know that this is my tree. Maybe I'll take that out here. And so if I wanted to make another tree, I wanted to translate it over, I could use the translate command again too. Maybe this one I want to move to the left. I want to make another one like over here next to it. So I could put negative 150, comma 0, and then that'll move it over. So everything underneath here will be affected by this translate. So there's another one. So this also, these things are moved over now to the left, minus 150 on the left. That's because all these translate commands build up. So to isolate a translate command so that it doesn't mess things up, you can put the word push with parenthesis around it, like that. That kind of saves the state of the whole world, and then it translates everything. This is like negative 150 means it's translating it to the left. It's moving it to the left on the x-axis. So you do that, and then you got to use pop at the end. It tells it to, okay, forget about the translates now, we'll pop. So you usually, when you use a translate command, you want, or a scale command or a rotate command, you're going to want to use this push and pop around here. So even here, like there's my first white triangle, here's my second one. I'm going to use push because I have a translate command there. And then when I'm done translating, I only want to translate this triangle over. Then I'll use the pop command. So translate, scale, and rotate are like this, or you want to use push and pop around them. So if I wanted to use, there's a scale command also, right? So here's a tree, here's another tree, right? So let me tidy code here, tree, and then here's another tree. So let's say I wanted this tree to be a little smaller. I could put a scale command in here too, scale, and then like maybe I'll put like 0.8. And that will scale this second tree a little smaller. There it is, it's a little smaller. The scale command also, the translate command affects the scale command too, so it gets really complicated. I'm going to change the order of them. Oh, that didn't seem to, I'm not sure if that did anything, but anyway, you see, so scale can make things smaller or bigger. If I made this 2, it'll scale it twice the size, and it's huge now. It's somewhere else. I don't know where it went. So let's see if I put it here. These get really, really complicated pretty fast. I'm going to change it to 1.1 and see what happens. So yeah, so there's a little bit bigger. So there's also a rotate command, which is really, really, really confusing. I'm going to put the rotate command in here for a second. Rotate, and then I'll put, well, I'm going to try to use degrees. So I'm going to put like 5 degrees here. And in order to use degrees, I want to use that angle mode degrees thing. So I could put that right here, that angle mode degrees. Where is it? Over here. Because I'm using it in the rotate command. But since I just kind of, if I'm going to use angles and rotation and stuff like that, I know I'm always going to just want to use degrees. I'm not going to want to use radians at this point. So So let's see. So that tree's a little bit rotated. I don't know why you'd want to do that with a tree, but maybe with some words you might want to do that. So you see, so the problem with rotating stuff is it rotates around the origin. So this thing is rotated 10 degrees around the origin. So like if I rotate it 90 degrees, it's going to be out of the picture. I'll like stick it. I'll do 30 degrees. You can see it's already, it's down there now because it's rotated 30 degrees from where it was supposed to be. So when you want, normally like I want to rotate something, like here's my glasses and I want to rotate them. Normally I don't want to rotate them like this. Wait a minute, let's see. I don't want to rotate them like, oh my God, how can I do this? Yeah, like that, right around this. I don't want to rotate them like that. I normally want to rotate them like this, right? Like maybe I want a spinning star or something like that, right? I usually want to rotate them just around like this. So that's a little bit harder to do. I don't usually teach that in class, but since you're a captive audience watching this video, you can also skip past this. I'm going to show you how to rotate stuff. So I'm going to go to here, and I kind of have, this is a bit advanced. So how to use these commands. So I'm asking you here, we're going to make, there's a rectangle in the middle of here. I'm going to ask you to rotate it. We're going to play with the rotate a little bit. So here, and you can click on this. Notice I'm gonna duplicate it to test again. Test. All right, let's see what I got here. So I don't have anything here. In fact, I've got some angle mode, rect mode center, good, text align center. So here I'm saying to make a rectangle in the center, 200 by 100, and rotate it 45 degrees. So you can go around, you can go along with me to do this. So 200 by 100, in the center, width over 2, height over 2, and then 200x or width by 100 height. Okay, let's see if I can do that first of all. Yeah, there it is. And then I'm asking myself to rotate it 45 degrees. So I've got angle mode degrees up here, so I know I can use, when I use rotate, I know I can do 45. In fact, I probably want the rotate before the rectangle. Yeah, I definitely want that. So I'm going to do this now. Let's see what happens. So you see it rotated it like 45 degrees around this origin. That's not what I wanted. I wanted it to look like a box, and then I wanted it to be like this or like this. I wanted that right around the center of it. So in order to do that, it's really complicated. In order to do that, you need this to be 0, 0. And then you don't want it to be here though. See, look, if I do 0, 0, comma. Okay, there. Now it's up here and it's rotated 45 degrees. So it's rotated right, but I want it to be over here. So then I need to translate it. So the question is, do I want to translate it before or after the rotate? Hopefully I'm going to get this right, but I might have it wrong. Nope, it's wrong. I wanted it to be here. So I want to translate it first, and then I want to rotate it. So when I do this translate, 0, 0 is really width over 2, height over 2. This is the most confusing thing in the world. You saw I even made a mistake there, and I've done this a million times. So I have a note to myself, but I wanted to show you guys what it's like when I make a mistake. It's like, oh, made a mistake. I'll try something else. So good. So that's how I would rotate something like this. Let me do the tidy code again. So let's go over this again. So also, like I said, we're going to want push and pop in here when we use translate and rotates. So I would push something up here and then I would pop it all the way over here. So here I'm also asking you to make the word hello in the center of the rectangle. So that would be text hello. And then do we put width over 2, height over 2? Because I want it to be in the center here. Since the world is translated to 0 or to width over 2, height over 2, if I put 0, 0, what happens? What do you think will happen? Will it be in the center? Yeah, it's in the center, and it's rotated because I've got this stuff happening. So look, if I put a push here and a pop here, Then this text hello is up here. It's at 0, 0. Now that's not exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to be I wanted it to be in the center of the screen too. So I'll encase the whole thing with that pop. Let's see what we got now. Now we've got that, and if I want to rotate it the opposite direction, I would do, I would do rotate, because everything's already rotated 45 degrees, right? What if I said negative 45 degrees? What'll happen? What do you think? Let's see. Yeah, rotated at negative 45 degrees this way. So if I wanted to rotate it even more that way, like negative 45 degrees the opposite direction, since we're already rotating 45 here, I got to go negative 90 there. So really confusing. I'll do one other thing too to blow your minds, okay? You should know everything I say is sarcastic because I'm Generation X. So I've got to let x equal 0 up here. I've got a little variable, your baby's first variable. Hopefully you've worked with variables before, but if you haven't, this is your first variable. So this is like a little container that I can put any number in. If I asked it down here, to print x, I set that x equal to, when I set it equal to 0, so it'll print 0. So here, let's see, it's going to print a whole bunch of zeros. It's 0. And I can access this x anytime I want, but I can also do x equals x plus 1. That will count up. That will make x count up here. Every loop. So this, remember, this draw is looping 60 times a second. So watch what happens now. So it's counting up, x is counting up. So that's pretty exciting, right? What if I, instead of rotating here, 45, what if I rotate x? Let's see what happens. And I've got like a rotating box. So I stuck an x in there instead of hard coding it to 45. And my x is just constantly going up. See, you can see what x is here. So if I wanted this to go the opposite direction, I think if I do negative x here, I think I'll have hello rotating. Oh no, it's not rotating. It's kind of staying. It's already been rotated by x already, and now I'm canceling it out. So I would have to put negative 2 times x, I think, if I wanted to go the opposite direction. Yeah. Okay. So this is a bunch of stuff that you don't really need to know unless you want to make rotating spinning stars or rotating spinning flowers or rotating spinning gears that like cut people or something like that. This is how you use rotate, scale, translate commands. And this one got pretty complicated, but this one here really, this one is kind of a good example for you, because if you've got a bunch of trees and you want to duplicate them and you don't want to have to calculate all of the numbers where the trees are, you can use that translate command. So go over the earlier part of the video again where I duplicated the trees. And if you've got a nice house you want to duplicate, you'll see how to do that. And then your project will look really cool. Your projects. All right. My second challenge here is to go through this code. And in the class, when you're in live class, I ask people to help each other. But here, go through this code and see it's got tons and tons and tons and tons of errors in it. So this is supposed to be a canvas that's 400 by 400 with a face that smiles and frowns depending on whether or not the mouse is pressed. It does not work because the person who wrote this code was texting and driving and sending bad memes at the same time. So don't ever text and drive and drink and do all this stuff and code at the same time because it'll never work. That's what this person did, and there's all kinds of mistakes. So I suggest you take this and save it or duplicate it under another name, Bugbusters copy, and then start going through it and see if you can catch all the mistakes. And if you can catch all the mistakes, then send. I have here, I don't usually, this is like a fun activity for people in the class. They usually, it's fun because if you're with other people in the class, you know, people like try to fix it first, stuff like that. So since you all are separated in different places, in different houses, different apartments, different places all over the land, you can't really collaborate with each other. So, and I have this words down here. You do not have to turn this in, so you do not have to turn it in. But if you want to try it and you fix it, you can send it to me, and or you can put it on our Discord and say, look, I fixed it. That would be fantastic. All right, where to from here? Adobe Kuler is the coolest thing ever. I guess that's why it's called Kuler. You're supposed to work on scene in MP2 and also take your week 1 quiz, your week 2 quiz, sorry. And then here's a self-quiz for you. You should know how to do all this stuff. Adobe Kuler, last thing. If you go to Adobe Kuler, I think you could just type in Kuler too. This is so cool. It's kind of like a social network for colors. I'm going to click out of that. Okay. Adobe Kuler is kind of like a social network for colors. So it kind of gives you an idea of some colors that you can use. It's the coolest thing ever. So you can click on explore. It's different every time I look at this. So here's color palettes. Here's trends you can click on. And, you know, oh, I like this. This is really cool. So you can click on that. You can add it to your library. You can download it as a JPEG. And these are all the different colors that are in this particular palette, right? So I can go back. Every time I click on it, it's different. But there's libraries. And this is for people like me who just kind of, when I'm trying to create something, I just don't even know what colors to use. You can tell by my background of my room here. So you can explore, and you can, you know, I'm viewing this now. Like you can look at color themes, random. You can appreciate stuff. So here's random colors. So, you know, oh wow, this looks really cool. I could click on this, or this looks really cool. I can appreciate it, which is, I guess, like. And then you can click on it, you can share it, you can mess with it, I think, like, right? I think you can change it a little bit, and then you can use it as your color theme. So years ago, a student introduced me to this, and it was the coolest thing ever, and I thought I'd share it with you all. You all may have something that's even neater to share with me. So if you do, please let me know on the Discord. So that's that. That's the end of week 2. Week 3, we are going to get into how to embed images and fonts and sound. So that'll be the next video, and I'm going to make that shortly. Have a great, what is it, Monday? I thought it was Saturday.